Welcome to This Explainer. Whenever we hear the name Donald Trump, our minds instantly go to gold-plated skyscrapers, luxury hotels, and sprawling golf courses. But today, we're going to bypass the usual real estate talk entirely. We're jumping straight into a staggering new financial reality for Donald Trump. It is a pivot that has completely transformed his business empire in the blink of an eye, basically moving from concrete and steel to the totally intangible world of digital assets.
Okay, let's dive into this massive number, because a recent investigation by Reuters revealed a pretty staggering figure: 21,850 crore rupees. That is exactly how much the Trump family earned from crypto businesses alone, just up to April of this year. I mean, take a second to process that. This isn't revenue generated over decades of building up properties. This is rapid wealth generation happening in real time, right inside the highly volatile cryptocurrency market. And what's really fascinating is how quickly this sector has just completely swallowed the rest of his traditional portfolio. The breakdown of his income really paints the picture of that shift. Crypto now absolutely dwarfs his legacy golf and resort businesses, making up nearly 70% of his recent income. The golf courses and resorts, the very foundation of his public billionaire persona for over 40 years, they now account for just a quarter of the pie. We are literally witnessing one of the most famous real estate tycoons in history quietly morphing into a cryptocurrency titan right before our eyes. To put that into perspective, and this is wild, this new digital asset revenue is roughly 3 times larger than the brick-and-mortar empire he originally built his name on. Think about the thousands of employees, the massive maintenance costs, and all the global logistics required to run his traditional physical properties. Now compare all of that to a digital token. The margins are wildly different. He's generating 3 times the revenue from an industry that practically didn't even exist in the mainstream a decade ago.
Now, while that earlier massive number was for the whole family, if we just isolate his personal cut last year, Trump himself reported taking in an incredible 13,300 crore rupees just from his direct crypto ventures. This is direct income flowing to him personally. When you look at wealth generation, seeing a personal windfall of this magnitude from a newly adopted industry is incredibly rare, even for billionaires. It just shows exactly how aggressively he's capitalized on this new market.
So the crucial point here is understanding the how of this pivot. It's a massive move away from the old way of doing things, pouring heavy capital into physical, global real estate, buying land, securing permits, pouring concrete. Instead, he has transitioned to an entirely asset-light model centered around World Liberty Financial, the Trump crypto coin, and various other digital assets. Rather than building physical towers, he's effectively building digital ones by licensing his very powerful brand straight to the blockchain.
Actually, to understand how he does this, it's the exact same playbook he used for ultra-luxury physical properties like the Trump Towers in Mumbai and Gurugram. In those deals, he invested minimal cash, licensed his famous name to developers, and collected massive fees, like earning 95 crore rupees from Indian real estate just last year alone. Now he's seamlessly applied this exact same low-risk, high-reward licensing strategy to cryptocurrency. He attaches his name to a token, invests very little upfront capital, promotes it to his massive global audience, and then reaps an enormous profit share. This super efficient brand licensing strategy is a huge reason why his overall net worth sits at an estimated 47,000 crore rupees today, according to Forbes. By minimizing his personal financial risk and maximizing the sheer marketing power of his name, he's created an incredibly resilient wealth-building engine. And honestly, moving this engine into the digital space has only accelerated its efficiency, allowing him to tap into global liquidity instantly. But the story shifts from a simple business pivot to a matter of global political interest when we look at the timeline. In September 2024, his family launches the World Liberty Financial crypto platform. Then, notice the dates here. On January 17, 2025, there is a global launch of the heavily invested Trump crypto coin. Exactly 3 days later, on January 20th, he is sworn in as President of the United States, launching a major digital financial asset merely 72 hours before taking the presidential oath. Well, that is exactly what sparked the intense scrutiny we're seeing right now. And that timeline brings us right to the international intersection, which has sparked intense debate about where personal business ends and global diplomacy begins. Critics point to a rapid sequence of events with Pakistan. First, his company, World Liberty Financial, signs an agreement with the Pakistan Crypto Council. Shortly after, Pakistan successfully secures a massive 1,000 crore rupee loan from the IMF. Following that, Pakistan's Prime Minister and Army Chief bring critical minerals directly to the White House for a U.S. deal.
For observers, this maps out a highly controversial overlap of private crypto ventures and high-stakes international relations.
Now you might be wondering, how do we even know all these exact financial figures and business structures in the first place? Well, this complex web of international deals and massive crypto earnings came to light solely because of mandatory annual U.S. financial disclosure laws. Every summer, the president is required to lift the veil and publicly declare all their income and assets. Honestly, if it weren't for these strict transparency laws, the sheer scale of this transition from real estate to crypto might have remained entirely hidden from the public eye.
Which naturally brings us to a highly debated and critical term being used all over Washington right now: conflict of interest. This is defined as a situation where a leader makes official public policies or decisions that directly benefit their own personal businesses or private financial holdings. When you're the head of state, every single economic policy you sign has massive ripple effects. So the big question becomes, how do you separate the national interest from your personal portfolio?
And this is exactly what critics are zeroing in on. Opposition leaders are raising major alarms over the timeline, alleging that his pro-crypto policies as president directly inflate the value of his family's newly dominant digital holdings. The argument they make is that by pushing regulations that make it easier for cryptocurrencies to thrive, the administration is simultaneously, and it should be noted quite legally under current frameworks, boosting the value of the Trump crypto coin and the World Liberty financial platform.
But to be completely fair here, this was never some secret financial strategy. He certainly didn't hide his affinity for digital assets. During the 2024 campaign, he explicitly and publicly branded himself to voters as the crypto president. He actively courted the cryptocurrency industry, promising highly favorable regulations and a friendly environment for digital assets if elected. So voters were fully aware of his stance on the industry when they went to the polls.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, we're really looking at a brand new frontier. The world has never seen a sitting world leader with such vast, deeply intertwined digital asset holdings. It leaves us with a pretty thought-provoking question about the future of global leadership. When global policymaking and personal digital empires merge so profitably, how do we redefine the boundaries of a leader's private business? It is absolutely a question that will shape political and financial transparency in the new digital age. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you in the next explainer.